And you responded to Senator Whitmire at the outset of this discourse that you disagreed with some of these police chiefs and sheriffs about their concern that this legislation will create problems for them in terms of the trust that they've built with the immigrant community and the reporting of crime. And you said, I heard you clearly, that it is your view that these are politically driven or motivated, I forget what words you used, statements on their part, that they're getting pressure from their city, I believe you said. Now, the sheriff of El Paso, as you know, is a constitutionally elected officer, just like you and I. So is the sheriff of Dallas County. Those sheriffs have made very strong public statements about their concerns about the impact of SB 9 on their ability to maintain a safe community. And I think it is important for the record, in light of their comments, to just go over a sample of some of these comments, because they've made these comments publicly, and I have a transcript of their comments, and we should kind of not be confused about what they're saying. Here is Austin Police Chief Art Acevedo at a panel on immigration here at the Capitol on February 17th earlier this year, saying, quote, "Now you're going to ask us to take on this role. It is counterproductive, counterintuitive. Although it may be politically sexy to sell that to a community that is frustrated because they can't find jobs, at the end of the day, we will see crime start to go up. And those that victimize an illegal immigrant today will victimize you and your family tomorrow. If you don't get that cooperation, we are endangering legal residents." This is Police Chief Art Acevedo here from Austin. El Paso County Sheriff Richard Wiles at the same panel. Because people are going to be afraid, they're not going to want to work with us. And the criminals are going to be allowed to move freely because they know that if the person calls in, not only are we going to be investigating that crime, but we're going to be investigating a person's status. San Antonio Police Chief William McManus, who we talked about earlier here today as well, in the same panel, in communities in Texas like San Antonio that are primarily Latino, if that community knew that at any given moment a police officer could stop them and challenge their immigration status, we would lose whatever trust we've gained in the community. We would be kicked back to the dark ages in terms of our relationship with the public. We need the public to help us solve crimes. We need the public to do community police. We need the community to engage in problem-oriented policing. Without them, that goes away. And then finally, the Arlington Police Department. This is Deputy Chief Jennifer White, basically saying the bottom line is that when the police have a need to question someone's citizenship status, then the police have the ability to act legally and properly in conjunction with the federal officials to determine that status. We do not need a bill that inhibits our ability to protect local law enforcement while at the same time eroding the partnerships in the community that we have found invaluable in solving crime that affects us all. So, and there's some comments here also from the Dallas Police Chief, but I won't belabor the point. These are the professionals who are at the head of their departments and have got years of experience. They're the experts. It is quite frankly confounding to me that I hear statements not only from you, but from the governor and from others who say this SB 9 is intended to give law enforcement the tools they need to make the community safer. Well, the heads of the departments, elected ones, as well as appointed ones, are saying the opposite. This is going to diminish our ability to provide safety for our community. And I would submit it is indeed going to make us more insecure rather than more secure. So I want to have you consider later at the appropriate time an amendment that Senator Watson offered at committee, and I believe you heard him say it was the bill that I had introduced, that basically would make an exception under SB 9 for law enforcement inquiring about immigration status in the case of victims and witnesses to crime, so that there is absolutely no message sent to those who want to report crime or who are witnesses or observers of a crime, that they can cooperate with the police without fear of being deported. And I hope that I can persuade you to give due consideration to that amendment, because I think in light of a lot of the issues that have been brought up here, it's very important to send a clear message to people that if you witness crime or if you yourself are a victim of crime, you should feel comfortable in cooperating with the police. So I will do that. One last comment, and yesterday there was no testimony presented on this point, but it's an issue that I personally am familiar with, formerly as county attorney of El Paso County, since we handle all of the mental health work in the county, and I'm aware of other jurisdictions where similar things have happened, and there's been accounts in the media from the Los Angeles Times and others about those who are intellectually disabled Texans who have a mental illness and who, because of their condition, are picked up by the police at times, and they're not able to persuade the police that they are indeed citizens and find themselves deported. We just had a very recent incident where the Los Angeles Police Department, who, by the way, under the guise of the 287G program, this is the Police Department of Los Angeles, put this individual in their jail and then deported the disabled U.S. citizen because they had the authority under 287G to enforce federal immigration law. That's another concern that I know a lot of members of the intellectually disabled community have with regard to this type of legislation, that they are going to be exposed to increased dangers of their loved ones finding themselves deported. So I hope that you will consider some of these points in working to make this a bill that is more compassionate and more responsive to some of the many concerns that people raised yesterday at the hearing. And there were many, from the business community over economic impact, from the victims of family violence, from the immigrants themselves, some students from UT Austin who were undocumented and were brave to come in and sit next to a law enforcement officer and say that they had concerns about this type of legislation to ordinary citizens that gave testimony overwhelmingly. While there were those who supported it, I think you would admit that overwhelmingly there was opposition to the legislation. So I thank you for your patience, and I hope that you will consider the amendment I will offer at the appropriate due time.
Thank you, Senator Rodriguez.